On the anniversary of the tragic Kamloops 215 discovery, we want to address the long-term impacts for residential school survivors and their families. It's been a year of reckoning for the country since a First Nation announced ground-penetrating radar had located 215 suspected unmarked grave sites at the former Kamloops Indian Residential School in BC. And it's estimated that 150,000 First Nation, Inuit, and Métis children attended residential schools, which were part of Canada from 1831 to 1996. Mr. Bruce Allan was one of the students who attended Lee Jack Residential School near Fraser Lake, BC. He is also an intergenerational survivor through his grandmother and father, who attended Lee Jack as well. He currently works as a resolution health support worker at the Indian Residential School Survivors Society. Mr. Allan joins us now. Sir, welcome back to Forum Daily.
Good afternoon.
Now, some have said the discovery of these graves have led to survivors pursuing a deeper sense of healing. So what does that look like for you and your community, sir?
For me, it was the survivors who didn't participate in the initial compensation processes that started in 2005 or 6 and continued on till 2013. A lot of survivors didn't participate in that, and when Kamloops happened, they were reminded how bad their experiences were, and they had to start talking about it. So on the ground right away, survivors are, though they've never talked about it before, are starting to share their horrific stories, and just generally the survivors are telling their truths. Those truths have to do with how the school has affected their lives. Even today, their children and their grandchildren are affected by their own experiences, and some of them are just sharing those experiences for the first time. And so that's the healing part, I believe, is because they've never told anyone.
Hearing these stories, it's incredibly heartbreaking. In this segment, we really wanted to highlight the long-term impacts of the residential school system, sir. So we know you were at Lee Jack Residential School for 7 years. How has your own personal experience shaped your life up until now?
Well, I would say it started with a therapist, an Indigenous therapist, talking to me about residential schools and put me on the path of healing, where I was able to not only work with survivors, but also to bring them out to a place of healing, which means that I had to also make that journey myself. And it's a long healing journey, and it continues today. And many of our survivors are on that same path. So I participated with elders, with therapists, counselors, workshops, conferences, culture camps, elders gatherings, and so all of these things contributed to healing. And I think when we continue to do that and tell our stories, a lot of our people will begin their healing again. And the Kamloops 215, the unmarked graves, really emphasize that we need to continue to work hard in our communities to heal those effects that are still happening today, and that shows up as overdoses that are happening in our communities with our young people, the suicides, the drug and alcohol deaths that are happening. And so we're still reeling from the effects of the residential school today. And so I'm doing my best. I did work on myself, so I'm doing my best to help out those survivors when they come to me.
A long journey ahead for many survivors, sir. A quick 30 seconds left in this interview. If you have any last messages for our viewers on this anniversary, what would it be?
I think as Canadians, we need to educate ourselves, learn more about what the residential schools were all about, as well as the Indian day schools. There's a deadline coming up pretty quick here, but yeah, just learning about the history and listen to the survivors tell their stories, find survivor stories to see what had actually happened in this country.
Mr. Allan, thank you again for joining us today and sharing your story with our viewers.
You're welcome.
Stay with us. We'll be right back after a short break on Forum Daily.